Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and as we begin our meeting today on behalf of Ottawa City Council, I wish to acknowledge that Ottawa is built on unceded Anishinaabe-Algonquin territory. The peoples of the Anishinaabe-Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The City of Ottawa honors the peoples and land of the Anishinaabe-Algonquin Nation and honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. For those who are able, please rise for a moment of personal reflection. Thank you, merci. Please remain standing, and I'll ask Councillor Dudas to introduce the performers of our national anthem this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is such a pleasure. When I first started thinking about who to invite to perform today, I wanted a group that would not only impress with their talent, but also reflect the spirit, energy, and promise of our community. I was looking for performers who embody dedication, creativity, and leadership, and who represent the bright future of our city. With that in mind, the choice became absolutely clear. I am thrilled that they accepted our invitation, are here with us today. It is my honor to introduce members of the St. Matthew High School Senior Band. C'est un honneur pour moi de vous présenter les membres de l'Armée.
It's an honor for me to introduce the group of this school.
Musicians has become a cornerstone of the arts community in Ottawa's East End. They're known for their passion, their discipline, and musical excellence. The senior band has performed at countless school and community events, inspiring audiences and showcasing the incredible talent that exists within our local schools. Under the guidance of their dedicated teachers, including Jeff Serrata, who is here with us today, these students have not only mastered their instruments, they've learned the value of teamwork, perseverance, and leadership. Alors, sans plus tarder, joignez-moi.
So without any further ado, please let's greet the students from the St. Matthew Secondary High School.
Thank you again to the team from St. Matt's, and good morning once again, everyone. Before we begin today's City Council meeting, I'd like to make a special announcement about the City of Ottawa's annual United Way campaign. Avant de commencer la réunion du Conseil d'aujourd'hui,
Before starting Council's meeting today, I'd like to make a special announcement regarding the campaign annual campaign of United Way.
Dudas, who is our honorary campaign chair, Dan Chenier, who is the chair for the City of Ottawa's 2025 United Way Employee Campaign, and Denise Taylor-Gillen, interim president and CEO of United Way East Ontario. Welcome to all of you. And thank you all for being here this morning to champion this very, very important annual charity drive. I've been involved with United Way for many, many years now. I was the chair of the board of United Way and the co-chair of the annual charitable campaign many years ago. So today I am pleased and honored to officially launch the City of Ottawa's 2025 United Way East Ontario Employee Campaign. This annual campaign in support of United Way East Ontario allows this wonderful community organization to invest resources where they are needed most in our city, where they will have the greatest impact. And they have three key focus areas in particular. All that kids can be, supporting youth and youth services, from poverty to possibility, helping people in tough times through job training and mentorship programs, and third, healthy people, strong communities, programs that support older adults. And I think our members of council will agree that those are priorities that we share here at the City of Ottawa. En participant à Centre de l'Est.
By taking part in the East Ontario campaign, we contribute to building a healthy and solid community.
We're helping to build a healthy, strong, and caring community. With a simple donation, you can make the difference for thousands of residents across our region. And in fact, last year, city staff raised more than $157,000 for the United Way campaign, and the majority of that, more than $150,000, came from direct donations from employees. The rest was raised through special events and other activities. We are so proud to have partnered with United Way East Ontario for the past 24 years, going back to 2001. Nous sommes si fiers de notre partenariat.
We are so proud of our partnership with the United Way East Ontario for the past 24 years, since 2001.
As the City of Ottawa's corporate charity, United Way has a profound impact on the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, residents, newcomers, neighbors, and friends. I want to thank city staff for all of their past donations, and with the launch of today's campaign, I encourage all of you, my colleagues on Ottawa City Council, senior staff, and employees to consider giving. It's actually very easy, just a few clicks to make a one-time donation, or you can choose to make a series of contributions through an e-pledge. And I'm really grateful that Laura has decided to be the honorary campaign chair again this year. And Dan, thank you for being the campaign chair. We really appreciate that. Thank you for your leadership, both of you. And of course, they won't be able to do it without the help of the terrific team at United Way, some of whom are here today. Denise, who I've already introduced, Sinead Short, Manager of Fundraising and Philanthropy, Christine Gaudin, the loan representative from the City of Ottawa, and Lauren Bussière, the City Campaign Manager. Merci pour votre engagement dans cette campagne et pour votre...
Thank you for your commitment in this campaign and for your support to East Ontario United Way.
Denise, if you would, please.
Well, thank you, Mayor Sutcliffe. It is my very great pleasure to be at Council today as you launch the City of Ottawa 2025 United Way Employee Campaign. I want to say just how truly grateful that I am for your support and for the support of every city councillor and employee who contributes their time and treasure to the campaign. And by doing so, you're making the City of Ottawa a better place for the most vulnerable people in our community to live. Thank you also to Councillor Laura Dudas, our honorary campaign chair, Dan Chenier. 10 years? It's 10 years, I think. And so thank you. We are so grateful for your ongoing contribution. And thank you to Lauren. Councillor Wilson Lowe, who is our board member, and of course to the United Way Employee Campaign Committee. So because of you, last year, more than 90,000 people benefited directly from programs supported by United Way East Ontario, and that was through more than 81 agencies delivering 112 programs, ensuring that children and youth, families, individuals, and high-priority neighborhoods receive the supports and services that they really needed. Those are numbers that I often share when I speak at campaign launches and with donors and supporters. But what I think is really interesting to me today is that so much of United Way's work is done in partnership with the City of Ottawa. So many of our investments are community-wide initiatives, initiatives like United for All, Project STEP, the Ottawa Child and Youth Initiative, are done in consultation with your colleagues or done with council. And I know Claire Freer, I think we have been doing this work together for also more than 10 years. United Way East Ontario and the City of Ottawa have such a long-standing partnership, and we have worked on the toughest issues facing our city, issues such as homelessness, poverty, accessible data sharing, and early years supports. I can't think of any partner that United Way East Ontario works with as closely as we do with the City of Ottawa. We sit at each other's tables, we support each other's strategies, and when the unexpected happened, our communities needed us to work together to help during natural disasters, welcoming refugees, responding to a pandemic, for example. Our ability to work closely together really mattered. And so, here we are today at today's campaign launch. It will not be news to you that more than ever, people are reaching out to social and community services to make ends meet. You may have heard that recently research by United Way Canada and Laurier confirmed what we have all suspected, the growing toll of financial stress is having on Canadians. So what we have learned is that more than half of Canadians, 55%, and 67% of those living below $40,000 a year are feeling anxious about personal finances. And that's showing up with issues like sleep disorder, distractions at work and school, and conflict, unfortunately, often in the home. And we know that our agencies that we support and that you support are seeing that as well. What is even more worrisome is that 42% of Canadians are able to cover basic living expenses, so rent, food, shelter, transportation, for less than a month should they lose their main source of income, 42%. And so the importance of ensuring that community supports and services are accessible and available really cannot be overstated. I know that you understand this. You understand the toll that inflation, rising costs of living, mental health crisis have had on vulnerable people in your communities, in your wards, because you see it in your daily work. You are taking the calls from concerned community members and people in crisis. And I know that's happening every day. This is all such critical work. And at the end of the day, for United Way East Ontario at least, we rely on the generosity of donors to ensure that we're able to respond in a meaningful way. This is the one time of year that we come to you at the City of Ottawa and ask individuals, each of you, every city councillor, city employee, our mayor, to help us do this work. So how can you help with the city's campaign? You'll see that there's on your desk a card asking you to support your United Way campaign this fall by making a personal donation. And when you do make that donation, please consider sharing your why with your staff, your colleagues, and your friends. Why does giving back to your community through the City of Ottawa 2025 United Way Employee Campaign matter to you? Thank you again, Councillor Dudas. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Mayor Sutcliffe, for your continued leadership with the campaign. I wish you all the very best, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Denise. And I just want to say, thank you for those poignant remarks on the great work that United Way does and the responsibility that we all have as community leaders to support the most vulnerable in our city through any means possible. So thank you, Denise. And I want to acknowledge for a second the fact that Denise has been performing the role of interim president and CEO of United Way East Ontario for a number of months now, while the organization looks for a permanent president and CEO. And so I don't know if, it's probably not, that's going to be soon. So this might be one of the last chances I get to publicly thank you for stepping up into that interim role and doing such an amazing job guiding the organization during that interim period while they've searched for a permanent CEO. So thank you very much. Thank you, Denise. Let's hear it for Denise. And Dan, thank you again. I said to Dan, it's amazing that he's been the campaign chair for 10 years. It's only a quarter of the time that he's been at City Hall, of course, but no, that is incredible that it's been 10 years of you doing that. Thank you so much, Dan. We're going to take a little picture, and then we'll start the council meeting. Thanks. Okay, thank you again to United Way East Ontario, to the whole team. Good luck with the campaign, and I'll ask now for the roll call.
Councillor Luloff.
Good morning.
Councillor Dudas. Councillor Hill.
Present.
Councillor Curry. Here. Councillor Kelly.
Present.
Councillor Gower.
Here.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Present.
Councillor Johnson.
Here.
Councillor Devine.
Here.
Councillor Bradley.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Present.
Conseillère Plante.
Ici.
Councillor King.
Here.
Councillor Troster.
Here.
Councillor Leeper.
Ici.
Councillor Brockington.
Here.
Councillor Menard.
Here.
Councillor Carr.
Here.
Councillor Kitts. Councillor Skalski.
Here.
Councillor Brown.
Here.
Conseiller Desroches. Councillor Hubley. Councillor Lowe.
Present.
Mayor Sutcliffe.
Here.
Monsieur le maire, nous avons quorum.
Merci beaucoup. Confirmation of minutes from the council meeting on October the 8th, including the confidential minutes. Are those carried? Are there any declarations of interest? I'll note the communications on the agenda and the fact that Councillor Kitts and Desroches advised that they would be absent. Motion to introduce reports. Councillor Troster.
Thank you so much, Mayor. This is seconded by Councillor Devine, that the Built Heritage Committee Report 26A, Emergency Preparedness and Protective Services Committee Report 19, Finance and Corporate Services Committee Report 28, and the reports from the City Clerk entitled Status Update, Council Inquiries and Motions for the period ending October 17, 2025, and Summary of Oral and Written Public Submissions for items subject to the Planning Act explanation requirements at the City Council meeting of October 8, 2025 be received and considered.
Is that carried? Item 11.1 is the status update on council inquiries and motions for the period ending October 17th from the City Clerk. Is that carried? Received? Thank you. From Built Heritage Committee, for item 12.1, we have a referral motion from Councillor King, which we can deal with now, if everybody's okay with that. Councillor King?
Thank you so much, Your Worship. Whereas staff met with the property owner on October 16th, 2025, And whereas the property owner and their representatives have provided staff with new information about the Ellis House at 2400 Bank Street that may impact the issuance of the notice of intention to designate this property under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. And whereas staff require additional time to evaluate and consider whether amendments are required to the proposed statement of cultural heritage value and attributes for the Ellis House, 2400 Bank Street, as a result of this new information, therefore be it resolved that Council refer the report back to Built Heritage Committee by the end of Q1 2026 and permit staff to include, if necessary, a revised staff report and supporting documentation for inclusion in the distribution of the meeting agenda with appropriate notice being provided.
Thank you, Councillor King. Is that carried? Item 12.2, Wellington Street West in Hintonburg Heritage Conservation District Feasibility Assessment. Is that carried? From Emergency Preparedness and Protective Services Committee, we have the 911 Annual Report. Is that received? The Landscaper Regulatory Review.
Mayor, could I hold for a couple questions?
Yep.
Thank you.
Item 13.3 is the motion from Councillor Brockington on support for the establishment of a National Fire Administration. Is that carried? From Finance and Corporate Services Committee, item 14.1 is the Brownfield Grant application for 100 Argyle. Is that carried? Item 14.2 is the Centertown Business Improvement Area boundary adjustment. Is that carried? 14.3, the Integrated Orleans Community Improvement Plan application for 4405 to 4409 Innis Road. Is that carried? 14.4 is the Nepean Sailing Club lease renewal. Is that carried? 14.5 is the primary care provider strategy. I'll hold that one. There is an amending motion and a direction. Item 14.6 is Councillor Gower's motion on the request for offers for the development of a health hub at 1655 Maple Grove Road. Is that carried? And the bulk consent agenda, is that carried? Okay, so we will go back to item 13.2, the Landscaper Regulatory Review. And Councillor Hill has a direction, which I'll just ask him to introduce, and then Councillor Troster, you can ask your questions. Councillor Hill.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The direction to staff is that staff from the Emergency and Protective Services be directed to provide a report to Emergency Preparedness and Protective Services Committee and Council by Q4 2027 on the current status of the city's hardscaping license program, including its efficacy and compliance rates, and include details on enforcement of the new license by bylaw and regulatory services.
Staff are okay with that direction?
Mr. Mayor, yes, we are.
Thank you very much. Councillor Troster.
Thank you so much. I apologize for not being able to attend committee because this is an issue that is extremely relevant in my ward. I was ill, so I just have a couple of questions if that's okay. First of all, I just want to say I think this is an excellent initiative because we are rife with contractor misconduct in Centertown, leading to a lot of non-conforming driveways and homes. So just to clarify right now, if a bylaw complaint is made and a property is found to be non-conforming, it is on the onus of the homeowner, not the contractor right now to remediate, correct?
Mr. Mayor, I'll ask Director Roger Chapman from Bylaw and Regulatory Services to come up and respond to that in terms of how they action these types of calls.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor, thank you for the question. The responsibility would be on the homeowner for the remediation work.
Okay, thank you very much. And could you just clarify, because my understanding is that a decision was made, and this was from a zoning perspective, to not enforce the bylaw for properties that were altered in 2007 or before, and that was a change because it used to be from the 1960s. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, I believe Court Curry is in the crowd here, so I'll leave that for Court Curry to answer.
Thank you. I know this one crosses a lot of departments. I just wanted to get some clarification.
Thanks, Councillor, for the question. Yes, 2 years ago, there was a communication to Council that there was a business rule put in place as an interim measure to suspend enforcement of relatively pedestrian private approaches pre-2007. Of course, if there's ongoing safety issues or there's issues in our right-of-way, we certainly work with our colleagues in bylaw services, but this was done in anticipation of a new bylaw coming forward, which will be before PWIC in February 2026.
Thank you so much. So at that point, that would be formally cemented, or we will discuss when we might want to have a grandfathering in of these regulations?
That's correct. Staff anticipate bringing forward a completely new bylaw, and at that time, Council will be asked to surmise on the appropriateness of grandparenting.
Thank you so much. And with these new regulations, just to be clear, so it introduces a licensing requirement for contractors, so they have to fully understand the law. Because I have to tell you, my immediate neighbors just had work done, and the contractor misled them, literally across the street from me. It's enormously frustrating. But is there any penalty for the contractor if they do not comply or if they mislead a resident into doing this expensive work on their property that violates the bylaws?
Mr. Mayor, yes, there would be. So the licensing requirement as a condition of licensing would require compliance with all city bylaws. In the event of non-compliance, the chief license inspector would have new administrative tools and regulatory tools under that licensing regime to bring that contractor into compliance, to put conditions on the license, among other issues, including fines. So licensing brings those tools to deal directly with the contractor now that aren't in place right now.
Thank you so much. So I just want to speak to how important this is and how happy I am to see us working on fixing this problem moving forward. I can't even walk my dog in Centertown without going non-conforming driveway, non-conforming driveway, not non-conforming driveway. It's so rife in my neighborhood, but part of the problem is a lot of these are legacy properties. Some of these illegal parking spots were sold as features by real estate agents in the listings, and people have been parking in that spot for 15 years, and then they suddenly find out that they're out of compliance and they have to rip it out. So I feel tremendously bad for residents, certainly if they're being misled by real estate agents and by contractors to do work that is illegal. But I also think that I just want to signal that when this comes back as part of the zoning, I think we need to have a conversation about this, because I understand 2007 was chosen as a date because it was sort of the time at which we could realistically get a look at older pictures and figure out when the work was done. But you know, it also seems patently unfair that if a property has been a certain way for 15 years and not bothering anyone, and you know, one person, someone calls bylaw about one person, but their neighbor literally next door has the same thing and they're not being penalized, it leads to a lot of discord among neighbors. It leads to a lot of people reporting each other out of frustration. This is what I'm seeing right now. Yeah, and people don't understand the why if they're like, but I've lived here since 2010 and it's always been like this. Why do I now have to pay all this money to fix it? So I think this is an amazing initiative going forward. And I'm really interested in having this conversation when it comes back with the zoning to talk about if we can have some additional relief for residents who are not causing a nuisance, who have been operating this way forever, because I do think, and I know it's frustrating for bylaw too, because you can only enforce what's reported, but when I look up and down entire streets, many of those properties look exactly the same, and some people are being penalized and other people aren't simply because of complaints. So it's an issue I'm trying to figure out a solve for, so I certainly invite staff to have future conversations about what we may be able to do in the zoning to maybe grandfather some of this in, or give a little bit more of a longer leash to residents who didn't know, who were misled, and who have been operating this way for a very long time, because it really is a shock to the system when a complaint comes in and all of this expense associated with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Troster. Is that carried?
Dissent.
All right, item 14.5 is the primary care provider recruitment and retention strategy, and we do have an amending motion from Conseillère Plante, seconded by me. If you wouldn't mind introducing that now.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le maire.
Thank you very much. Whereas Ottawa is a bilingual city with a significant francophone population, which is unique in Ontario, whereas access to healthcare is in one's official language is a matter of health quality, patient safety, and community well-being, whereas Action 3 of the Primary Care Provider Recruitment and Retention Strategy propose advocating to the province for policy changes that will remove barriers to physician recruitment in Ottawa. And whereas allowing French-speaking foreign-trained doctors to begin practicing in Ottawa upon graduating from the Ontario Practice Ready program would not only expand capacity, but also enhance cultural and linguistic diversity within the primary care workforce, which can strengthen trust and improve the physician-patient relationship within our Francophone population. Whereas Ontario's Practice Ready program requires graduates to complete a 3-year return of service in a rural high-needs community, therefore be it resolved that Action 3 of the Primary Care Provider Recruitment and Retention Strategy be amended to include advocating to the Ministry of Health to allow French-speaking foreign-trained doctors who have completed an Ontario Practice Ready program to be permitted to complete their return of service agreement in the City of Ottawa. Thank you so much.
Conseillère Plante, et merci.
Thank you so much, Councillor Plante. Thank you for your motion.
Action from Councillor Skalsky on this. Go ahead, Councillor Skalsky.
Hi, thank you. So I'm just looking to make sure that the Ontario health teams that touch most of Osgoode Ward are not inadvertently excluded from this important collaboration on this issue. So just a direction to staff. So on page 16 of the report, reference is made to the city's 3 Ontario health teams as it relates to Action 9, which speaks to collaboration with Ottawa Public Health to identify ways to improve residents' access to primary care. Most of Osgoode Ward is part of a 4th Ontario health team, the Great River Ontario Health Team, which is based out of Cornwall. So as part of the overall strategy, staff shall include the Great River Ontario Health Team on associated actions pertaining to collaboration with Ontario health teams.
Okay, our staff all right with that direction?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So on the item as amended, is that carried? Oh, sorry, we didn't vote on the amendment. I apologize. On the amendment by Conseillère Plante first, is that carried?
Carried.
And then the item as amended, is that carried? Thank you. Okay, we will move now to our in-camera item. And I will ask Councillor Troster to introduce the motion to move in camera, which is seconded by Councillor Devine. Do you want me to read it? I think what, okay.
I move for council to move in camera to consider this item.
So I'll just read it here. Be it resolved that City Council resolve in camera pursuant to Procedure Bylaw 2025-100, subsections 13(1)(c), a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land for the purposes of the city, and subsection 13(1)(j), a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality with respect to the potential property acquisition update. Is that carried? Carried.
Thank you. Apologies, Mayor.
We will move in camera and begin the closed session as soon as possible. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to start again in 1 minute. Thank you. Okay, let's begin again. For the benefit of the public joining us, Ottawa City Council just met in camera pursuant to Procedure Bylaw 2025-100 as follows. Subsections 13(1)(c), a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land for the purposes of the city, and subsection 13(1)(j), a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality with respect to the potential property acquisition update. During the closed session, no votes were taken other than procedural motions and/or directions to staff. So we'll move to item 17 on the agenda, the motion to adopt reports. Councillor Troster.
Thank you, Mayor. That the Built Heritage Committee Report 26A, Emergency Preparedness and Protective Services Committee Report 19, Finance and Corporate Services Committee Report 28, and the reports from the City Clerk entitled Status Update, Council Inquiries and Motions for the period ending October 17, 2025, and summary of oral and written public submissions for items subject to the Planning Act, explanation requirements of the City Council meeting of October 8, 2025 be received and adopted as amended.
Is that carried? Carried. Item 18.1 is advocating for the retention and refinement of automated speed enforcement in school zones. Councillor Tierney.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. First of all, if I could ask for your indulgence real quickly, I just want to thank members around the table. First of all, and I know this is a little unorthodox, but frankly, we're living in very unorthodox times right now, and I just wanted to show this sign. I think this really speaks to the Premier. We're listening. If this sign's not big enough, certainly we're not doing the right thing here. So I'm only bringing this prop out, and thank you, Caitlin, for not getting me in trouble, because with this motion and working with Councillor King and the Mayor, many others, we certainly have seen, and again, I want to remind people, it's Local Government Week. The province announced it, and AMO and Riley and I were chatting about that, where they really acknowledge the local government and how important we are. And we're sitting at a crossroads now where we have done the right thing in our city. We've worked very hard when it comes to the placements of those cameras. We know where our cameras are and how good they work. We also want to acknowledge the fact that we're working to see if we can actually make it so they understand we're unique in our city. We've done the right things. We want to protect kids in school zones. When it comes to working with other colleagues across the province, I've been working with Councillor Santos in Brampton. I've been working with Councillor Nana in Hamilton, Councillor James in Waterloo, Councillor Nissan in Burlington. It's brought together not only members of AMO and FCM and council colleagues across the entire province. A lot of what is proposed doesn't make a lot of sense. We've even gone as far, and specifically in Ottawa, because we've been good stewards with our cameras, is request the province to amend the legislation to have a sign that says school safety zone instead of community safety zone. We're willing to look at turning off cameras that might not be in the school zones at this time, and we can have further discussions. We've also invited the province to participate in the speed threshold committee formed by 6 cities that do the processing, that set the thresholds that the province is more than welcome to take part in being part of. These are all things to show that we're actually looking and listening, and we want to be part of a solution that sees the cameras remain in the area of schools, because that's the ultimate goal. And I know Councillor King is going to have some great additions to this, because we saw it, we heard it from the people, we heard it from the parents. We know that these things make a difference. This morning I was actually out in my neighborhood in front of a school. There was bylaw and police there making sure it's safe for children that are quickly racing out of a car, that don't know, they just want to get to school. If we even allow the increase of speeds, we're not doing ourselves a good service. The other major points that I think are really critical is the fact we are risking where this money goes. I've resisted time and again the chance to take that risk safety money, the camera revenue. People have come to me, maybe we could put it in health, maybe we could put it over in housing. It sounds great, we'd love to do that. But we made a commitment to use that money for safety within the community, to build infrastructure for safety. What are we jeopardizing possibly? It's going to come down to, remember we all chatted around the table about lowering speed limits within communities, on crescents, on side streets. We have a plan. We're ready to roll. But it was to be funded by that. We're going to lose that money. We won't be able to make that commitment to our constituents if we lose that money unless we go back and find another funding source. So all that, Mr. Mayor, I know there'll be plenty of discussion, and I will wrap up at the end. But therefore, be it resolved that the City of Ottawa affirm the proven safety benefits of the ESC program and urge the Province of Ontario to permit retention of the ESC cameras exclusively in designated school zones and the immediate removal of the ESC cameras in non-school zones go ahead. Be it further resolved that the province proceed with removing the ESC cameras in school zones. Council requests municipalities grant the opportunity to phase out over a 12-month period to ensure the smooth transition and minimize the safety risks during the implementation of alternative measures. And be it further resolved that Council requests the province provide equivalent funding as mitigation that the City of Ottawa is committed to allocating to Road Safety Action Plan budget to ensure continued investment in critical safety initiatives such as intersection upgrades, enhanced signage, other infrastructure improved to protect valuable road users. And last but not least, be it further resolved that the City Clerk forward this motion to Premier Doug Ford, Minister Prab Shakaria. And lastly, be it further resolved that once again the legislation is tabled, if the staff are directed to prepare a report in Q1 2026 outlining the projected safety and financial impacts of the provincial ban in Ottawa, focusing school zone data related to reductions in collisions and speed attributable to ASC impacts on Road Safety Action Plan, and prepare a plan of alternative methods to ensure school zone areas are protected by using whatever measures. And I know there's a lot of thoughts. Why aren't we fighting? Why aren't we saying, let's keep them all? Really, we're saving the furniture here, people. The school zones are the critical part, and I hope to have unanimous support today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Councillor Brockington.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to my colleagues for bringing this important motion before us today. for our debate and discussion. I'm disappointed that we have to have this discussion. I was proud to be the first member to raise the issue of speed enforcement cameras at council a number of years ago. I acquired the support of Chief Bordelot at that time, and police chiefs across Ontario support speed enforcement cameras. I worked with the then Attorney General, Yasser Naqvi, when his government was looking at legislation on this matter, and first municipal politician to testify at Queen's Park when the regulations were being considered. So I'm disappointed that we have to have this discussion. As we know, legislation was introduced yesterday to discontinue the use of speed enforcement cameras, and it's the same government that wrote the regulations to authorize the use of speed enforcement cameras. They are the ones that actually spelled out the rules of engagement, who are now trying to have those cameras discontinued. When I first door knocked in 2014, a story I shared with colleagues multiple times, the #1 safety issue in every neighborhood, older neighborhood or modern neighborhoods, wealthy, middle class, less financially advantaged, it doesn't matter, road safety was the #1 issue. People said going for walks to the park with their kids, out for a night for a jog, bike ride with grandparents. Cyclists have said road safety is the #1 safety issue over and over and over again. So as a first-time member of council in 2014 through 18, when our police resources were even tighter then than they are now, getting any type of speed enforcement, the traffic units always depleted and reassigned, getting any type of enforcement was practically impossible. And the traffic calming that was available to us back then was seasonal in nature only. It was limited in numbers. We really had no ability to make an impact on speeding. Can the data that's collected across Ontario be any more clear than it is now? The use of speed enforcement cameras work. It does reduce the speed of motorists in school and safety zones. It doesn't matter what jurisdiction has made their data available, it works. It works in Ottawa, we have those stats. And I don't understand the argument from the Premier about this being a cash grab. If you speed, there's a fine to be paid. There's no demerit points. There's no impact on your insurance. It's one of the cleanest fines that there can be. As I say again, the province wrote the regulations. They have the ability and the authority to amend those regulations to address the key things that they're concerned about, that the current authority gives them concerns about. Whether it's signage, we have signage now when you enter a zone, we have signage when you leave a zone. There are limited areas where those cameras can be used, as we know. School zones, community safety zones, you can't use them anywhere else. We direct how the money to be used. The province can set a minimum standard over the limit, example 10 kilometers or higher when the camera is enforced. They have the tools. We want to work with you, province, to retain the cameras. We want to work with you on modifying the regulations if that's the direction you want to go. But ultimately, the use of this technology should be at the use of the discretion of municipalities. We are accountable to our residents. We have to explain to our residents what other options or tools we used before implementing speed enforcement cameras. We have to demonstrate to them the need for those cameras. We are accountable. We have elected to use them. We answer to the public. So I'm very disappointed that this legislation was introduced because it will not make us safer. Removing speed enforcement cameras will not make us safer. You cannot put speed bumps on Arterial Road. We are not adding speed bumps on Baseline or Hunt Club or other arterials. It's just not possible. And I actually have schools on arterial roads. Carlton Heights, where at night cars go 120 kilometers an hour. Not as fast during the day, but still a significant issue. This will make our communities and our neighborhoods less safe. This is not good legislation. So I do support the motion that's before us today, and we need to do a lot more as municipalities to speak up against this and articulate why the use of speed enforcement cameras in conjunction with many, many other options, traffic calming measures and options before us, is the right thing. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brockington. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Tierney, Chair of PWIC, and for bringing this excellent motion to Council, and I will absolutely support it. Of course, you know, our residents have a lot of needs and a lot of wants, and they want to be able to enjoy driving from home to work and back, or out with the kids, or do errands. But they're conscious of the speed of vehicles on their streets, the increasing congestion, and the bad behavior of a minority of drivers. And that's what speed cameras help correct. And at the same time, they provide important funding for critical road safety programs that will be threatened and possibly lost due to the decision of the legislation at the province. I really want to take this opportunity to correct some of the misinformation that we have heard about speed cameras. The first is that speed cameras do not fine anyone for going 5 kilometers over the speed limit. The ticket threshold is determined by municipalities that use the program, and it's based on the same guideline that police use. And so our city won't say for legal reasons exactly what that is, but media has recently reported in Toronto that their threshold is 11 kilometers an hour over the limit, and I believe that that is a reasonable threshold for ticketing. Another piece of misinformation is that speed cameras, as my council colleague said, can be replaced by speed humps, and they can't in most cases. Can you imagine Greenbank or Woodruff with speed humps? The allowed vehicle speeds are too high to install these alternative measures, so cars will be catching a lot of air if we decide to start implementing these things there. And the worst and the most repeated line is that speed cameras are a cash grab. It's true they subsidize some road safety programs. That's the benefit of a fine. But when that revenue is taken away from municipalities, we'll have a hard choice to make. We'll either have to scale back those programs significantly, programs that I believe I was actually elected to protect and to promote, or we have to fund them from the property tax base. Road safety investments are tax supported, especially in older neighborhoods. And so we will not be able to do these things without asking all homeowners to help pay for these programs, not just those that break the law. What programs are currently covered by some of these revenues? They support our adult crossing guard programs. They support our temporary traffic calming programs. They support intersection and PXO improvements. Our city is already behind on these upgrades, and the situation could get much worse. As one of our staff recently said to me, canceling the speed camera program, will set the city back decades for road safety. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Road Safety Action Plan team and all associated public works and transportation planning staff that have been involved in trying to realize the vision that the City of Ottawa has been behind on. I know since I've been elected, we have tried and made incredible progress on some of these priorities, and I can see the distress that these public servants are showing when having to face these really difficult decisions. Right now, all these programs that I've listed are paid for by people who break the law, who choose to speed near schools. And as I said, if we decide to keep those programs, they'll have to be paid for by law-abiding homeowners. That's the decision that the province is asking us to make. Make the honest drivers pay and don't charge those that are speeding. And that is being argued as fair? I disagree. I don't think it's fair. I think that driving is a privilege. It's not a right. And to paraphrase an old saying, if you can't pay the fine, don't do the crime. So I will continue to fight for speed cameras because they work. We have the evidence. We know they are effective at reducing speeds in school zones, but that also drivers begin to pay more attention to speeds overall. So I think that speed cameras are a win-win-win for the residents of Ottawa. They save money on policing, they reduce illegal speeding, and they pay for road safety programs. So I am very proud to support my colleague's motion today, and I echo my disappointment that this provincial government continues to take safety measures away from kids in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor King?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I also want to thank Chair Tierney for aggressively devising and advancing this motion and doing it in collaboration with many colleagues around this table. Automated speed enforcement cameras have been the most effective road safety tools our city has deployed. Consequently, I strongly urge this council to support this motion and advocate for their continuation in the face of the province's legislation tabled this week to ban their use. Let's be very clear about what's at stake here. This is not about revenue. This is not about inconveniencing drivers. This is about saving lives. The data tells us a story that should matter to every single one of us around this table. Before we installed speed cameras, only 16% of drivers were complying with posted speed limits in these zones. 16%. This means 84 out of every 100 vehicles were breaking the law in areas specifically designated because of safety concerns, near our schools, near our playgrounds, where our children walk and play. Within 3 years of camera installation, compliance jumped to 81%. That's more than a 4-fold increase. But here's the number that should really capture our attention. High-end speeders, drivers going more than 15 kilometers per hour over the limit, dropped from 14% to just 0.7%. That's a 95% reduction in the most dangerous driving behavior. Think about what that means on the ground. At schools across our city, we're seeing compliance rates above 90%, with high-end speeding reduced to fractions of a percentage point. These are not just statistics. These are children arriving safely at school. These are families walking to the park without fear. And colleagues, we know these cameras work because drivers themselves have told us so. When we surveyed Ottawa residents this past August, 69% of people who received tickets said it changed their driving behavior. That's not punishment, that's education. That's creating lasting change in how people operate vehicles in our community. The public supports this approach overwhelmingly. 83% of Ottawa residents support speed cameras in school zones. 80% support them near parks and playgrounds. These aren't fringe opinions. This is a clear community consensus that we have a responsibility to protect our most vulnerable road users. And yet, colleagues, we find ourselves in an absurd situation. Just over the past 3 weeks, the city installed a new speed camera on Donald Street in Rita Rockcliffe Ward, a camera that residents in our community have been advocating for over the last 5 years. In fact, Chair Tierney and myself met with a principal on Donald Street not that long ago talking about the potential of these cameras. A camera that would address speeding concerns beside 2 schools on Donald Street. But we can't turn them on. These cameras will sit there, installed at taxpayers' expense, ready to make that street safer, and we won't be able to activate them because of the province's impending decision. Think about the message that sends to area residents who recently lost a young child to a traffic incident who attended one of those schools. Think about the frustration of knowing we have the solution right there, but our hands are tied. Now, I've heard the criticism. I've heard people call this a cash grab. Let us address that directly. Revenue from fines and penalties generated by speed cameras are reinvested into the city's road safety action plan, not into general revenues, not into other programs, into road safety initiatives specifically designed to reduce fatal and major injury collisions. If we were truly all about revenue, we'd be celebrating when ticket numbers go up. Instead, we celebrate when they go down, because it means drivers are slowing down and our streets are safer. We understand that the province has the authority to make this decision, but authority and wisdom are not always the same thing. The Premier has suggested we use speed bumps, flashing signs, and other measures instead. And I'm not opposed to using any of those tools where appropriate, because we can't install them on arterial roads. But we should be using every effective tool available. But why would we voluntarily discard the one tool that has produced such dramatic, measurable results? Colleagues, I urge this council to make its position clear. We need to advocate loudly to the province. We need to engage with AMO. We need to make sure that this case is driven by data, with community support, and with the fundamental principle that local governments should have the tools they need to keep our residents safe. Let's stand up for evidence-based policy, let's stand up for community safety, and let's stand up for the tools that work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Plante.
Yes, and before I begin, I want to thank Councillor King for taking us all on a wonderful journey there, and my deepest, deepest condolences to your community for what happened last week, that we were all impacted by that, and knowing you and knowing that community, which is very tightly knit, I know that impacted you greatly, so thank you for your comments today. I just have a question. I believe I'm going to direct it at Mr. Huxley. We know that there has been injunctions towards the province on issues of things like bike lanes, with judges ruling that they are to stay in place until they can have a more formal ruling on the subject. Do you know if there will be any legal proceedings about this specific issue? Do you know if there's any injunctions planned from any groups around Ontario on this?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not aware of any such proceedings being contemplated.
Just personally, I was in discussion last night with some walking and cycling advocates about getting involved in an injunction on this issue. What would it take for the City of Ottawa? Does it take a motion at Council to be an intervener in that injunction?
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend that we monitor the bill that was just proposed on Monday. It's proceeding through the legislative process. Certainly my team would want the opportunity to review the bill with staff, and I think there's more information coming in that regard. So I think it would be premature to discuss the prospects of any legal proceedings that others may bring, and whether the city has any role or involvement in that at this time.
And then, sorry, and just so I'm clear, just for the city to take a rule, does that require a motion at Council, or is that a decision made among general managers at the city?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to take that away. I would look at the delegation of authority bylaw and review the circumstances as it presents itself in a concrete situation.
Thank you, because I believe there is a role, as Councillor Tierney pointed out, we do have some very unique needs here in the city. As someone who has one of the most profitable speed cameras, and sadly has been for the last couple of years on King Edward, I'm in strong support of them. The one on King Edward is close to 3 very low-income communities and low-income schools. So I'm hoping that, it's great that we like them and we say we like them, but I believe we need to also be actively involved in trying to keep them in our city, whatever measure that requires. So I will follow up with you on that. Thank you.
Merci, Councillor Plante. Councillor Kavanagh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Many of the points have been raised. I spent 8 years as a school board trustee. I had to listen to parents' concern, not just about what happens in the school, but how their kids get to school. And that was something that was very important. We did walking school buses. We ran a program on that with OSTA. This is a priority. And the speed cameras were an improvement. They really helped. One of the first ones to go in was at Bayshore. Bayshore, St. Rose of Lima, 90% of those kids walk to school. They have to cross the road. They live on the other side of the road. They're in a Cora village. It was absolutely necessary. Otherwise, people were speeding over to get to the shopping mall. So that was absolutely valuable. And I know it was one of the highest revenue earners because people didn't notice that there's a school and tons of kids in that neighborhood going to the only park they have there and their school. So it was so valuable. And this is a neighborhood that they didn't necessarily advocate for it, but it was just the numbers were pretty obvious that something had to be done. And Bayshore also wanted one, the school around the corner. I want to thank Councillors Devine and Johnson, who joined me on Monday for a Bike Ottawa event in support of speed cameras. And it was at Woodruff Avenue Public School, a school my own kids went to. And the parents have been very vocal about their concern about speeding on Woodruff Avenue. This is an area as well where people are trying to get down to the parkway, they're trying to get to work, and they're not paying attention. So you need those speed cameras. They're very important. People say, well, let's have some other alternative ways to slow down traffic. And has been pointed out, well, if we have those funds, which we're getting, then we'll have funds to look at other ways to slow people down, especially in residential areas. That is something that we need. And we want to see more permanent solutions, not just temporary. We all get that. I challenged Doug Ford to attend a school council meeting in my ward. I want him to explain to parents that speeders are more important than their kids. That is my challenge to him. This is outrageous that he's siding with speeders and he's ignoring parents who have been begging us for these cameras. So I appreciate this motion and I thank the mover and fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kavanagh. Councillor Skalski.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Tierney, for this motion. So I think it's really important to highlight how speed enforcement differs in rural Ottawa. While speeding is still the #1 issue raised by residents, we don't have any, speed cameras in Osgoode Ward, and that's for good reason. So we cover a large geographic area with long stretches of open rural roads, higher posted speeds, and dispersed villages, making tools like speed cameras that target a single point geographically impractical and financially inefficient compared to other calming measures and police on patrol. So in rural Ottawa, where fatal collisions are the most frequent, automated speed enforcement cameras are considered an ineffective or an incomplete solution. So in many ways, I'm encouraged by the province's desire to look for alternative ways to slow traffic beyond speed cameras. So I want to see more innovative solutions that can apply in a rural setting. Despite this, I'll be supporting this motion today, but perhaps for more pragmatic reasons. So I agree. I think it's important that we should be asking the province to cover the costs of this ban. Lost inventory, cost of removal, lost revenues, and the cost of installing alternative traffic measures shouldn't fall on the city. I also believe that prioritizing safety in school zones is the right thing for our kids. School zone cameras should be excluded, and if they're not, they shouldn't be removed until there are alternative speed mitigation measures in place, and I agree with asking for more time to get that right. And lastly, I don't think we should be removing tools from law enforcement, especially when human resources are truly limited. We've heard from the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police that these tools, when used correctly, are proven to work to enhance road safety. But I do have a question for staff. So with all that said, as I mentioned, in Osgoode Ward, we don't have any cameras. However, we were scheduled to have 2 speed cameras installed this fall in rural Ottawa. In front of a school in Vars and one in Osgoode, where speeding is a serious concern for parents. These were part of a pilot project precisely to collect the kind of data needed to understand the impact of speed cameras in rural school zones. So in the motion in the final paragraph, it references coming up with a plan to I just wanted to make sure that these schools that are part of the rural school zones would be included in any plan noted here.
Mr. Mayor, if I understand it correctly, is if the province was willing to kind of relax their requirements and still allow the city to use automated speed enforcement, yes, that would continue. But based on the current legislation, every and all speed cameras would need to be removed, including the ones in rural areas.
Right. Sorry, so that's it. So if they are removed and we then come up with alternative mitigating measures, I want to make sure that these 2 cameras that have not actually been implemented yet but are scheduled to be implemented, that mitigating measures would still be available for those schools as well.
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Skalski. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I appreciate the debate this morning. I'm principally aligned with what I'm hearing, and I'm also pleased to, I think, have heard the answer to what I think is the core question here. Why did Tim Tierney cross the road? Clearly, the answer is to go get an oversized traffic safety sign to make sure that we can represent this issue. I wanted to share, I think, 2 stories from my ward just to add voice to this issue. Since I was elected, there have been 2 new automated speed enforcement cameras that have been installed in Ward 3. One of them was installed on Cedarview Road, and that's the site where the president of my seniors council, his grandchild was hit by a car at that site. The second location where an automated speed camera was installed in Barhaven was it's actually not installed yet. It's scheduled to be installed this fall. It's in front of Half Moon Bay Public School. Again, the site where a student got hit by a car. Both of those locations. And I also want to identify or speak to the issue of common sense. So there was a proposal that I received probably about a year and a half ago, saying, you know, there's an option to install an automated speed camera on Strandherd Road next to Pierre de Blois School. Makes sense. There's a lot of students that pass there. They're high school students. Strandherd is a busy road. We looked at this. I talked with staff. I talked with my staff. I talked with the community association. I talked with the PWIC committee members, and we said, you know what, we're actually going to take a pause on this one right now. We're going to install instead one of the traffic feedback boards, get some more data to inform that decision, but we're not going to install it. So the argument that we willy-nilly throw these things in all over the place, good judgment that goes into identifying the right places for these to go. And from my perspective, I don't want to see these littered all over the place. Whenever I have residents come into my office to talk to me about automated speed cameras, I have to go to my wall of shame where I unpin my tickets, my privilege tax tickets, where I say, yes, I get it. You know, I've got a few of these here myself. I won't say exactly how many because it's a little bit embarrassing, but it's a fact. I mean, you go too fast, you pay the fine. So I just want to say I appreciate very much Councillor Tierney's motion. I certainly support it, and I hope that we can get to the point where we can have the right levels and measures of safety in place, because it's not an easy task, and reducing tools from the toolbox is not an ideal solution.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Tierney for bringing this motion today. I think it's important. It looks like you're going to get mostly unanimous support here, and I want to thank you for the work that you put in for doing this. I will mention, though, and Councillor Skalski has touched on, you know, the issues in rural Ottawa and the fact that collisions and the fatality of those collisions are a lot more likely in rural areas where you can get up to much higher speeds. And so appreciate the motion, but I don't believe it's going to do anything for particularly West Carleton Secondary School, which is a school on a arterial road, Dunrobin Road, 80 kilometers an hour. And there is student traffic walking back and forth from the high school to a strip mall that has been inactive for 4 years but is about to have a grand opening very soon, and the community's excited about that. So I'm wondering what alternative mitigating measures are available in areas such as Dunrobin Road in Ward 5.
Mr. Mayor, I think we're getting into site-specific issues that we would need to take away and look at. There's no magic solutions, though. I think taking away this tool that we had was, as was mentioned by most members, was by far the most effective tool that we had in the toolbox.
I mean, and then generally speaking, these were put in areas, you know, community safety zones, school zones, areas that are already, you know, 60 kilometers an hour or under. So are we working on strategies or alternatives for roads with higher speed limits in order to calm traffic on those streets?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this dovetails into the kind of the speed zone policies that we're also looking at, that we're also going to be bringing forward to council. So this is additional insight that will help to inform that policy.
Funny enough, I think I have my briefing on that new policy today, so I can raise that with staff later today. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. All right, is the motion carried? Oh, do you want to do a quick wrap-up? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I'll be quick, Mr. Mayor, don't worry. First of all, I just wanted to point out, thank you. I'm hoping this will be unanimous support. I'll break out the giant sign if people want photos later. But that being said, again, to the province, we're still here, we're still listening. We need to keep the school zones. That's the critical piece to the puzzle. The school zones, the school zones, the school zones. While other ones went another way to put them everywhere, we were responsible. We will turn off the ones that are not there. We'll sit at the table and continue to negotiate. But please protect the students, keep the school zones, and let's keep the conversation going. So thank you very much, and I hope to have council unanimous support today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Is motion carried? Thank you, everyone. All right, motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure. Councillor Leeper has a motion with a technical amendment on the Housing Task Force report. On suspension of the rules, is that carried? Councillor Leeper?
Thank you. I think this arises out of a conflict between the version of the CBC rules that came out of FinCo and then came out of Council subsequently. So whereas recommendations 3A and 3B from the Joint Finance and Corporate Services and Planning and Housing Committee respecting the Housing Innovation Task Force and Housing Accelerator Plan report were as set forth in document 1 to this motion, and whereas motion 2025-6606 carried at the Council meeting of October 8th, 2025, attached as document 2 to this motion amended recommendation 3B, and whereas motion 2025-6606 in particular stated recommendation 3B be deleted to remove any return of funds collected to date under the community benefits charge, whereas recommendation 3A is amended by the joint committee itself, but as adopted by Council also provided in part funds that have already been collected shall be recalculated to 2% or 1% within MTSAs, with remaining funds to be returned to the applicant. Whereas there is a need for clarity given the adoption of recommendation 3A and the amending of recommendation 3B, therefore be it resolved that recommendation 3A of the recommendations of the Joint Finance and Corporate Services Committee and Planning and Housing Committee report on the Housing Innovation Task Force and Housing Accelerator Plan be amended to delete the following sentence: funds that have already been collected shall be recalculated to 2% or 1% within MTSAs, with remaining funds to be returned to the applicant. And then there are the two attached documents.
Okay, and that's just to provide clarity. Is that carried? Carried. Councillor King has a motion on a commemorative plaque in Rockcliffe Park on suspension of the rules. Is that carried? Carried. Go ahead, Councillor King.
Thank you so much, Your Worship. Whereas in 2021, Council endorsed the application by the Rockcliffe Park Residents Association to the Historic Sites and Monument Board of Canada to seek the community's designation as a National Historic District, whereas in May 2024, the Government of Canada designated Rockcliffe Park as a National Historic Site of Canada, recognizing its distinctive design and layout, its architectural diversity, and its reflection of Ottawa's dual role as both the nation's capital and home to numerous diplomatic missions, underscoring Canada's presence on the international stage. Whereas a special ceremony celebrating this commemoration was held in Rockcliffe Park on May 30th, 2025, whereas there is no clear process granting city staff with the delegated authority needed to allow federal plaques on city property, therefore be it resolved, Council approve that the Historic Sites and Monument Board of Canada can install a commemorative bilingual plaque on a site approved by city staff within Village Green Park, adjacent to the park pathway in proximity to the corner of Springfield Road and Mariposa Avenue, and therefore be it further resolved any costs for the installation of a plaque come from eligible sources.
Thank you, Councillor King. Is that carried? Okay. Councillor Lowe has a motion on...
Mr. Mayor, I'd like a recorded vote on this.
Okay, so on whether to suspend the rules to add this to the agenda, we'll have a recorded vote.
Mayor, I just want to speak to the motion. I want to speak to
We're voting on whether to add it to the agenda. Though.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the motion to add it to the agenda. So,
okay, so this is simply about whether to suspend
yes.
the rules or not.
Yeah, I just want to speak to that briefly. And so, I know it's targeted based on Councillor Lowe's motion, which is to allow a bit more time for the Lansdowne 2.0 conversations to happen. Councillor Lowe had a motion or a direction to staff asking for 30 days before the vote would take place. Unfortunately, staff were late getting the report out and only had the 20 days between the final vote from when it came out. Mayor, we certainly know that this deal is another complicated long-term P3 similar to LRT. It's a massive change to the Lansdowne Partnership plan and the deal. There's a lot of changes there, not just the plan in front of us, but how the actual finances work. I mean, if you haven't read it yet, I'm sure a lot of colleagues actually haven't read through everything, but like, it's a massive amount of documents that we've got here, Mayor. It's just overwhelming how many things have been submitted. So I just say that we need to take the time here to get it right, regardless of which side of the issue you're on. This is a massive, massive issue for us. I would just, a question to my colleagues here, do you know when the retail deal lasts to? The date of that? I mean, if you don't know the answer to that question, you may not know enough about this deal yet. It's 2106. And so just to say, we definitely need some time here, Mayor. I'll just say, I saw the videos that you had shot before the release, and a lot of flashy graphics and logo designs were completed from the details of the report before other councillors got to see the report. Only a few City Hall insiders had access to those documents, and I think if we're confident in this plan or not, it's truly a deal we cannot refuse, then we need to give it the time it deserves for the public. If you don't know the answers to some of those questions, the public certainly doesn't. So just to say, I hope we do suspend the rules to consider a motion which is time sensitive. There is no other meeting to decide this. This is a time sensitive motion that Councillor Lowe has brought to actually have a debate and consider that. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Recorded vote then on whether to suspend the rules to add this to the agenda.
Councillor Gower.
No.
Councillor Menard.
Yes.
Councillor Leeper.
Yes.
Councillor Troster.
Yes.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Councillor Luloff.
No.
Councillor Bradley.
Yes?
Councillor Skalski.
No.
Councillor Dudas.
No.
Councillor Kelly.
No.
Councillor King.
Yes.
Councillor Hubley.
No.
Conseil Desroches. Councillor Brown.
No.
Councillor Curry.
No.
Councillor Tierney.
No.
Councillor Hill.
No.
Councillor Brockington.
Yes.
Councillor Lowe.
Yes.
Councillor Johnson.
Yes.
Conseillère Plante.
Oui.
Councillor Devine.
Yes.
Councillor Carr.
Yes.
Councillor Kitts. Mayor Sutcliffe.
No. Just to be clear, the threshold is 18 votes for it to be added to the agenda. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
12 yeas, 11 nays.
Okay, so it's not added to the agenda. Notice is a motion for consideration at a subsequent meeting. Conseillère Plante. Do you have your motion?
I do. Sorry,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
didn't hear you at all. Anyway, thank you so much. Whereas a company of fools, Ottawa's longest-running professional Shakespeare in the Park company, is celebrating its 35th anniversary, are proud to continue their mission for providing accessible and professional live theater to the residents of Ottawa. And whereas a company of fools have expressed an interest to install one commemorative sign blade that would read "Fool's Way" on Range Road at Strathcona Park, where they perform, whereas the cost of the project will be paid through the mayor's office budget, therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to install one commemorative street sign blade recognizing Company of Fools' 35th anniversary on Range Road at Strathcona Park. And I would encourage everyone to come see their shows. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Motion to introduce bylaws. Councillor Troster.
Thank you, Mayor. That the bylaws listed on the agenda under motion to introduce bylaws, 3 readings, be read and passed.
Is that carried? Confirmation bylaw. Councillor Troster.
Thank you. That the following bylaw be read and passed to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting of October 22nd, 2025.
Is that carried? Inquiries. Councillor King.
Thank you so much, Your Worship. As older neighborhoods undergo intensification and infrastructure renewal, residents are experiencing increased heavy construction vehicle traffic, including dump trucks, cement mixers, excavators, and equipment transport operating on residential streets near schools, parks, and homes. The volume, size, and weight of these vehicles are generating significant concerns about traffic safety, particularly for vulnerable road users such as children, seniors, cyclists, and pedestrians. With ongoing intensification and an increasing number of infrastructure projects, it is essential to understand how traffic safety is being managed in relation to heavy construction vehicles and where improvements can be made. More information will help identify gaps in the existing framework and ensure community safety remains paramount as development activity increases. Can staff please provide information on the following? 1, current standards and oversight. Is the regulation and monitoring of heavy construction vehicle safety in residential areas a city responsibility, a provincial responsibility, or a shared jurisdiction? And what specific measures are in place to ensure these vehicles operate safely near schools, parks, community facilities, and on residential streets when multiple projects create concentrated heavy vehicle traffic in neighborhoods? 2, construction site safety requirements. Are mandatory safety protocols in place for construction companies to protect children, seniors, pedestrians, and cyclists from heavy construction vehicles at crosswalks, school zones, and on residential streets and intersections? And how are these requirements enforced? And 3, gap identification and continuous improvement. Does the city track and respond to safety incidents and near misses involving heavy construction vehicles in residential areas? And what proactive education is provided to residents, particularly families and seniors, about safely sharing roads with construction traffic?
Thank you, Councillor King. Are there any other inquiries? Motion to adjourn, Councillor Troster.
That the proceedings of the City Council meeting of 22 October 2025 be adjourned.
Is that carried? Thank you, everyone. Merci.
Good afternoon. Bonjour à tous. I will now invite each agency in alphabetical order to ask their questions. You may ask one question with a follow-up. J'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question et une question de suivi. We'll now start with Arthur White-Crummy at CBC Ottawa.
Hello, Arthur.
Hello. Good. I think we're still afternoon now, aren't we? Barely.
Afternoon. Good afternoon.
Great. So I wanted to start by asking about what happened at the very end of the meeting. There was an attempt to extend the timelines to consider the Lansdowne 2.0 deal. Why did you vote against the attempt to even get this on the agenda to allow councillors the opportunity to debate that prospect of extending the timeline?
Let's be clear. I think what's going on is a little bit of political gamesmanship and political stunts. You know, we have been discussing and debating Lansdowne now for many, many years. We made a decision on November the 10th, 2023 to proceed with the plan. We've spent millions of dollars on advancing that plan since then. We have a report now that confirms that all of the estimates that were in what we approved 2 years ago are not only accurate, but the financial model is even better than it was in 2023. So we have time to consider this over the next couple of weeks. We have committee meetings that are going to happen next week. They'll probably last a couple of days. Everyone will have a chance to discuss it, and members of the public will have the opportunity to delegate. And then we'll have a council meeting that's 3 weeks after when the report was released. I've had time to read the plan more than once. I've talked to council colleagues who have had the time to read the plan. I don't think anybody's decision on this, based on the information that we've received, is going to change just because there's a few more days added to the timeline. We got to move away from when, look, I respect Councillor Menard. We work very well together on many issues, but he's opposed to this project. And so when you're opposed to something, but it seems like it's moving ahead, your only recourse is to delay. And I want to keep Ottawa moving forward. We have a lot of work to do. We have the budget. We have our plan to eliminate youth homelessness. We have our housing plan. We have so many things we need to get to. I think the people of Ottawa expect us to be smart and responsible and decisive. We have time to consider this over the next couple of weeks and make the right decision.
But how is, I think, 7 days until the joint committee meeting, or not joint committee, but the finance committee meeting, which will be the only chance for residents to speak out about this. They have 7 days to digest.
They had about 10 days from when the report came out.
Right, to digest a 140-page report, all sorts of financial modeling, the partnership agreement, the annual report. It was a massive dump of documents. Like, is that realistic, in your opinion, for residents to make sense of that much material in 10 days?
I think it's 125 pages, just to be clear. But look, there's a lot to consider there, and we want to hear from residents. I encourage residents to come and delegate and share their points of view. But it's up to city councillors to make this decision. And let's be clear, we made a decision 2 years ago to move forward with this plan. That passed by a wide margin at City Council on November 10th, 2023. Since then, staff have been acting in good faith. They've gone out and they've got contracts with builders, contracts with construction companies, and that plan now looks even better than it did 2 years ago. So the essential facts haven't changed, and it's the job of councillors, not members of the public, to exhaustively go through the information that's before us and make those decisions on behalf of members of the public. That's what we were elected to do. That's our job. Reading reports is part of the job. I spent time on the weekend on this. I'll probably spend time on it next weekend. I'm sure other councillors will as well. Let's do our jobs. Let's make a smart, responsible decision. Let's drop the political games and stunts, and let's get on with this and get working on other priorities.
Thank you. We'll now go to Tyler Fleming, CTV.
Hi. Speed cameras.
Yeah.
This motion was approved. Do you think it's going to make a? Do you think you're going to be able to persuade the province to listen to this?
I really hope it does persuade the province to change its mind on speed cameras in school zones. I fundamentally disagree with the provincial government's position on this and with the new legislation they've introduced. I do not think that will make roads safer for our children and for members of the public. I think it will make them more dangerous. I've said all along, I think speed cameras work. I think they're effective. The evidence shows that. So I'm hoping that residents will contact their members of provincial parliament, contact the premier, contact the transportation minister, make your feelings heard. Let's convince the provincial government that speed cameras work. They cause people to slow down and drive more safely, particularly in school zones. And let's move forward with a sensible plan where we can have speed cameras in school zones and we can protect the safety of our children.
I've noticed in the past few weeks, even with this legislation tabled, there are some speed cameras going up, not necessarily in school zones. Why?
Sorry, say that last part again, that there.
Some of the speed, like there's a speed camera in Manotick, for instance, that's, they have installed the structure, they're putting up the post, but it's not in a school zone, so.
So the program allowed for speed cameras to be installed in community safety zones, in areas that were designated as community safety zones, so that would be included in that. I think what we're comfortable with, if the province really wants to, to change things and doesn't want to see them everywhere, then I think we could all agree that they could stay in school zones. Those are areas where there is the risk of a child being struck by a vehicle that's traveling too fast. The data shows that before we had them in school zones, only 16% of people complied with the speed limit. After we put the cameras in, 87% of people complied with the speed limit. So the data shows they're effective at reducing speeds. This is not about collecting money. This is not about anything other than protecting the safety of our kids. And that's why I think we need to find a solution here. And I encourage members of the public to make their voices heard on this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. On va à Sébastien Pierros, le droit.
Bonjour. Bonjour, Monsieur le Maire.
Hello. I would like to come back to what's going on with the cameras and the bill that was tabled on Monday. You presented a motion today. Have you been discussing with the province? Is it a dialogue? We have the impression that there's no discussions. Answer? Like I said before, I disagree with the provincial government concerning the automated speed cameras. They're very useful. These cameras reduces the numbers of accidents, the number of incidents. So I hope that the provincial government will be listening to us. They will be listening to our residents. We have a good solution. You know that Ottawa is slightly different than what's going on in Toronto. You know, we are finding bad conductors. We have a different cap for the limit, and most of the cameras have been installed in a school zone, slightly different than the Toronto situation. So we want a solution in which we will be able to use these cameras in school zones. I hope the government, the provincial government, will be listening and listening to the resident. Question. I would like to go back to your medical strategy, trying to get French-speaking healthcare professional. You will pressure the health department. Are you independent from the province and trying to attract them? You're always talking about the quality of life. How can you attract these doctors here without depending on the province? Answer. We've adopted a strategy. We have a plan in Ottawa. We will have employees that will work on this plan, and we hope we'll get some results. We understand that this is a very complex issue. It's not easy to attract doctors in Ottawa. We have to respect provincial rules, such as that the new doctors need to work in a rural community for a while. I hope that the provincial government will listen to our request. So this will be very good for rural areas. And we need more French-speaking doctors here in Ottawa. So I hope they can make some amendments and try to attract doctors in rural areas and French-speaking areas. We will see what will happen. We'll see the results in a few months. But so for right now, we do have a plan. Thank you so much. Albert Rolla, Radio-Canada. Question. I would like to continue on my colleague's comment. You're talking about the Ontario program, the training for the new Canadians. They want to serve the rural communities in the northern section of Ontario. Do you think that through your requests, these doctors will not be available for these rural communities? Answers. I think we have to look at two aspects. First of all, in Ottawa, we do have rural communities. Rural is spread out. We have now 2,800 square kilometers, 4.5 times the area, the Toronto area. You know, we don't want that the Ottawa rural community be laggards just because they're part of the city of Ottawa. We want to be treated as other rural communities that are not part of a large community or municipality here in Ontario. I hope we will find a solution for the rural areas of Ottawa. We hope we can attract doctors who wants to work with us. I forgot the second part of your questions. Question. I was asking if you were actually not stealing doctors from other areas. Answers? If we're looking at statistics, we're behind other municipalities. If we compare ourselves to other municipalities, we don't have enough doctors. So we need the provincial government's support to increase the numbers of doctors within Ottawa. I was able to talk to James Philpott, and she told us that we were laggards. This could be a solution for us, and we'll be treated as the other cities. Follow-up question? Madam Stewart, you were talking about a couple of thousands of French-speaking doctors. Some Canadians are studying or working abroad, and then they're coming back to Canada. Can you comment on that? Answer? We want to attract doctors, French-speaking ones, no matter where they were trained. There's a slight difference the way we can move forward. So we do have Canadians that were born abroad. They want to come back and live in Canada. They need their residency. Then they have to practice in a rural community before they can work in a city. So this is what we want to discuss with the province. Now, for doctors trained abroad, immigrants coming into Canada, the process is completely different. They have to go through a practicum and they have to pass 2 exams. So we'll see if there's any way we can attract doctors here. We don't know. This is part of our plans for right now. Thank you so much. Frédéric Pépin, Radio-Canada. Hello? I would like to go back to the cameras. Did you talk to Doug Ford? I know you have a good relationship with him. Did you call him on his cell phone? Answer? I think I talked to him when he came to Ottawa last time. I told him that the situation was different than what you can see in Toronto. And at the same time, I gave him some data. So we are in disagreement with them. We have a very different situation here in Ottawa. I hope that the Premier and the provincial government will listen to the Ontarian resident. I've been discussing with this issue with other mayors. Mayors are worried. They're concerned about the risks because people may start speeding up again in school zones. If we can find a solution, let's say to remove all of the cameras and just to maintain them in school zones, that will be good. And then we can also move the cap or move actually a limit on the signs before we can find a driver. So maybe this is a solution. But for right now, I'm not sure if the Premier will move forward without listening to residents. We need to give our voices to our resident. Follow-up question? You didn't sign the mayor's letter. You want the Premier to listen to mayors? You will be sending a letter. So why didn't you sign the mayor's letters? Answer? When I saw the letter, I talked to my councillors. Then we decided to work on a motion that was carried today. I think it's better for me to talk with the councillors here in the city, and actually it was carried unanimously. We will address this issue with the province, hoping that they will listen to us. So it was not needed to add my signature at the bottom of a letter.
So I saw the letter, but I had already begun speaking with members of council on this motion that we adopted today. And I think it's better that we all speak with one voice, all 25 of us. It was adopted unanimously today, and that we as a city send a very strong signal to the provincial government that we don't agree with the new legislation and that we think a compromise is possible and that we can work together on a solution that focuses on school zones. Merci.
Thank you. This concludes today's media availability. Ceci conclut le point de presse d'aujourd'hui.